Welcome, yogis, to this gentle practice for strength, for flexibility, and one that you can modify to fit your body. Before we get started, I'm going to invite you to collect just a few props, things that you have lying around. You don't need official yoga props. So if you do have a yoga block, that will be handy. If you don't have a yoga block, please find a book. You should also have either a yoga strap, which I don't have, or a t-shirt, or in this case, a tank top that you don't mind pulling on. So an old shirt, and either a yoga blanket or a towel. So maybe hit pause and collect those props and then come back and join us. We're going to start seated, sitting on the edge of your towel or yoga blanket folded. So place it under the hips, sit up onto the blanket. We want to get really comfortable so that we can be seated for a few poses. And then stack the ankles one in front of the other. They're in the center line of your body. And then scooch forward, coming to the edge of the blanket or towel so that your knees start to fall toward the mat. And what that does is it gives you a little more ease to rise up through the spine, crown of the head lifts. Relax the shoulders. Take a moment to readjust the crown of the head over the hips. That might mean sitting the torso back just a little bit. And then once you've found your center, shut down the eyes. Bring awareness to the breath. Notice that little lift in the chest as you breathe in without effort. And then a softening and grounding through the shoulders, belly as you breathe out. Taking a moment to arrive on your mat, to make some space for your practice. It's natural for thoughts to come up. Simply acknowledge them and then redirect your focus back to the inhale and exhale, where you feel the breath in your body, or maybe the sound of the breath. And by following the breath, we bring ourselves into the present. Cultivate mindfulness. Flutter the eyes open and find your block or book. Place it lengthwise between the palms of your hands. Press into the palms, lengthen your arms forward. Lift the block overhead. It may not come all the way up overhead. And then wherever you are, come off about 10%. We want to be very gentle with the shoulders. So not your peak pose, no force. And then integrate the shoulders down your back. Reach the fingertips away, squeeze the block. As you inhale, press into the sits bones, lift up taller. Exhale, lean over to the right. Press down into the left sits bones, maybe start to spin the heart open. If you're feeling too much strain in the shoulders, bring the block or book down just a bit more in front of your eyes, keeping this gentle. Inhale back to center, exhale other side, over to the left. Reach those right fingertips away, squeeze the block or book. I'll just say block for purposes of this practice. And inhale back to center. Exhale, bring the fingers all the way down to the mat, slowly releasing. Set the block down and shimmy out the shoulders. Find some space. Bring the block into your hands again, squeeze the block, press the block forward, elbows are straight, and then bring the block a few inches back towards you to squeeze the shoulder blades together. Try that again. Press the block away and then squeeze the shoulders back, just finding that shoulder girdle, because we're going to be exploring strength and flexibility in that area today. And just move gently back and forth. It's a very small movement. And then release the block down. Hands come to the thighs. On the inhale, lift the shoulders up, back, and down. A few more rolls. A little more awareness in the shoulders. And then reverse directions. Come back to center. Drop the right ear to the right shoulder, and then lift that left ear up a little higher. So rather than simply hanging down on the right side, there's a little lift from the right ear, like there's a string above it. Start to crawl the left fingertips out and away from your body. Now come off of this just a bit, that 10%. So there's no strain. Just a gentle sensation, keeping it soft. Turn the gaze toward the right knee. Notice the shift in where you feel the stretch in the back of the neck or maybe top of the shoulder. And then bring breath into that space, expanding and softening. Release the chin to the chest, crawl the fingers back in. Other side, left ear, left shoulder. Lift the right ear up. Stay here or walk the right fingertips away. Deepening the pose. And now bring breath into the top of the shoulder, along the neck, expanding with the inhale, settling with the exhale. Turn the gaze toward the left knee. Release chin to chest, crawl the fingers back in. Find your, in my case, t-shirt or yoga strap. Bring it into your hands and come out to the width, about shoulder width and just a little beyond shoulder width when you bring your hands forward. Arms are straight. You can keep a slight bend in the elbows. On the inhale, reach over and up. If the shoulders start to lift, soften them down. And then rather than pressing back and jutting the ribs out, integrate the low ribs into the spine and keep the hands slightly forward. As you exhale, lower down. Arms are straight. Inhale, lift overhead. Maybe the gaze comes up, sternum lifts. And exhale, lower back down a few more times with your breath. And we're just exploring here. Let go of any over-efforting. And the next time you lower back down, settle here. Release the t-shirt or the strap. Bring one end of the shirt into your hand and hold it out to your left side like you're holding a serving platter. Palm is facing up. And then swing the shirt or the strap around behind your back. Bring the right hand out to the side facing the back of the room. Bend at the elbow and reach for the bottom of the strap. So you may be able to reach fingertip to fingertip, but rather than finding your peak in this pose, I invite you to find a softer stretch. Start here. Press the skull back into that left wrist, sitting up taller. And take a few gentle breaths here. Maybe start to crawl the hands toward each other. But rather than finding your peak, stay about 10% off of that peak pose. Taking care of your shoulders. They're a small joint, they're delicate. We don't want to overextend. Release, come back down, shimmy out the shoulders, and we'll take it to the other side. Take the bottom of the strap, bring the right hand out like you're holding that serving platter, palms faces up, and then swing it around behind your head. Left arm reaches out, palm to the back of the room, bend the elbow and find the other end of the strap. And take a moment to shift around, find your center, and press the back of the skull gently against the right wrist to sit up straighter. And this is a good place to be, right here. Maybe you start to crawl the fingertips a little closer to each other, but only if that's comfortable in your body. It's really not about achieving any particular shape. It's about finding what feels right for you. Slowly release. Set your strap aside. Come forward to hands and knees. Bring the blanket or towel under the knees for padding. Align the shoulders over the wrists. Joints are stacked. Hips are over knees. Tabletop position. On the inhale, drop the belly, lift the heart, tailbone lifts for cow. Exhale, round and tuck for cat, belly button to spine. Take a few more cat-cows, rolling from the tailbone through the crown of the head. And then release after your next exhale to neutral tabletop. Inhale, right leg lifts, flex the foot, square the hip, so maybe drop that right hip just a bit. And then bring the toes across beyond the left side of your mat, beyond the foot. Right toes to the mat, press the heel away, and then lean over so that you're pressing that right hip away and gazing at your right toes. Deep breath in on the right side of the body. Exhale, let it go. Inhale, come back to center, lift the right leg. Exhale, release the toes. Leg is still straight. Kickstand the left foot out to the side. So coming slightly out to the left, come to the left hip, outer edge of the right foot, and reach the right arm up. Maybe start to crawl the fingertips toward the front of the mat, palm faces down. And then release back, come to tabletop position, shake out the hips. Realign, neutral tabletop. Inhale, left leg lifts. Take a breath here to square the hips. And then draw the foot over to the right, toes to the floor or mat. Gaze back at your left toes. Deep breath in on the left side of the body. Exhale, release it all. Inhale, leg lifts. Drop the toes behind you. Kick that right foot out to the side, come onto the right hip. Press into the outer edge of the left foot and then reach the left arm up. Maybe reach the fingertips forward. And then on the exhale, gaze down at your right hand as you release back, tabletop. Bring the knees out wide, big toes touch, and sink the hips down onto the heels. Release the forehead to the mat for a child's pose. If your forehead doesn't reach the mat, you can take your block or book, place it under the forehead. In your child's pose, notice the shoulders. Feel any more release or softening, particularly on the exhale. On the next inhale, come forward to tabletop. Move your blanket out of the way. And walk the hands forward. Keep the hips over the knees. Release the forehead to the mat for puppy dog pose. If this is too much in your shoulders, you can release onto your forearms. You don't need to keep the elbows lifted. If your elbows are lifted, press into the hands to sit the hips back high and hug the low belly in. Inhale forward, drop to forearms. Walk the knees back just a bit. You're in a modified forearm plank. Chest reaches forward, shoulders drop down. You can stay here or tuck the toes under, lift knees, forearm plank. And this is a good place to be, or you can be on knees, modify for your practice. Maybe start to crawl the toes in toward the elbows and lift for dolphin pose. Keep pressing the forearms away and squeeze the shoulder blades together. Release to knees and come all the way down onto your belly. Make a pillow with the hands and rest one cheek. Forehead to the mat. Interlace the fingers behind your back. Stretch the knuckles toward the heels and lift the chest. Press into the tops of the feet. If this is too much in your shoulders, listen to your body and release the hands under the shoulders. Deep breath in, maybe lift a little higher. And exhale, release down, make a pillow with the hands, rest the other cheek. Forehead to the mat, hands under shoulders, press up to tabletop. Walk the hands forward beyond the shoulders, tuck the toes, hips up and back, downward facing dog, upside down V. Always the option to stay in tabletop. Inhale, come forward to plank. You can do this from hands and knees. Exhale, downward facing dog, or back to tabletop. One more. Inhale, roll forward to plank, shoulders aligned over wrists. Exhale, downward facing dog. Slowly set the knees down on the mat and come to a seat. Legs straight in front of you. This is a good place to find your blanket or towel and set it under your hips. Come to the edge of the blanket. Bring the hands by your hips, press into the palms, lift up nice and straight, and press the heels away, staff pose. Inhale, sweep the arms up. And exhale with a flat back, start to hinge forward from the hips. Release the hands. The sternum reaches toward the big toes. If it feels good in your low back, you can round the head and neck. Inhale, rise back up, hands toward the hips, bend the knees, bring the hands behind you and gently wag the knees side to side. Come back to center. Set the blanket aside. Knees are bent in front of you. Hold behind the thighs and roll down very slowly onto your back. Bring the knees into the chest. Rock side to side. Massage the low back. Cactus or T the arms and drop the knees to the right. Gentle twist. Knees are stacked. If that left shoulder blade starts to lift, you can place the blanket under the left shoulder blade. Bring the breath to the stretch in the front of the left shoulder and chest. Inhale, opening. Exhale, softening. Hug the belly in. Squeeze belly button to spine. Inhale, knees come to center. Release the feet and shift the hips to realign the spine. Knees into the chest, cactus or T the arms, and release the knees over onto the left side. If that right shoulder blade is popping up, support it with a blanket. And then breathe space into the front of the right shoulder, the chest. Inhale, knees back to center. Send the legs long on the mat, setting up for Savasana. Bring the arms by your sides, but leave lots of space under your arms. And if there are any props in your way, set them to the side or use your feet to move them out of the way. One by one, gently tuck shoulder blades under the body. Close the eyes. If your blanket is nearby, you can cover yourself. Take a deep breath in through the nose, hold it at the top, and then open the mouth, sigh it out. Surrender the entire body into the mat, letting go. Final relaxation. Savasana. I'd like to share a quote from Maria Sabina, a Mexican healer and poet. Heal yourself with the light of the sun and the rays of the moon, with the sound of the river and the waterfall, with the swaying of the sea and the fluttering of birds. Heal yourself with mint, neem, and eucalyptus. Sweeten with lavender, rosemary, and chamomile. Hug yourself with the cocoa bean and a hint of cinnamon. Stand strong with your bare feet on the ground and with everything that comes from it. Jump, dance, sing so that you live happier. Heal yourself with beautiful love, and always remember, you are the medicine. Start to deepen the breath. Wiggle toes and fingers. When you're ready, hug the knees into the chest and roll over onto your right side. Use the right arm to support the head and neck. Take a moment here to do a body scan, to to notice any shift in your physical body, in the mental or the emotional, since the beginning of practice. Press up to a comfortable seat, close the eyes. We'll take one last breath together. Inhale through the nose, hold it at the top, and then open the mouth. Let it all go. The light in me sees and honors the light in each and every one of you. Thank you for sharing your practice today. Namaste.